Hello, healthy friends. I'm here today with Kryzia Olsen, naturopathic doctor and acupuncturist, and we are going to talk about gut health. And this is really near and dear to my heart because I know that I've really put on a belly since the whole beginning of the COVID situation and being a working mom and just feeling all the stress and not being able to keep up to the really good dietary regimes I was on before this year. I've just kind of let it all go, and the COVID-15 turned into COVID-20 like you were saying. And so I would love to know some ways that we can improve our everyday gut health as we move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking. So first I want to just step back and talk about stress. Because this has been an incredibly stressful year, going on 2 years now, right? It's ridiculous. And that's not even including all the stress that you have in your life, right? The stuff that was already happening pre-COVID and then happened because of COVID and throughout COVID and continuing. And what happens in our body is that our body actually can't tell the difference between physical stress, emotional stress, mental stress. Stress is stress. And what it does to the body is it shifts our nervous system, right? The way of being and operating, of showing up in the world into a fight and flight or even freeze mode, which is our sympathetic nervous system. So basically what that means is it's like your tiger's chasing you, right? But back in the day when a tiger would be chasing you, you at some point would get away. But nowadays, stress never leaves, right? And that's why COVID-15, right, becomes COVID-20 and et cetera, because when our body is in that constant fight or flight mode, it doesn't care about digestion. Your metabolism actually goes to the crapper. And as well as like your hormones, you don't sleep well because your cortisol levels get all junky. Those are your stress hormones. They get all out of balance because essentially, right, your body is just focused on survival. But when you're surviving from, instead of a day, in 5 minutes, you only care about survival to, I care now about my survival in terms of my immediate, am I going to be alive, right? That's what your body is thinking. Am I going to actually exist in a few more moments? And so when you're in that when you're in that stressed, nervous system state, the sympathetic nervous system, again, all of those things, they shut down because of course your body's not going to care about digesting the food that you just ate. Because if a tiger is going to get you, it doesn't matter. If your immune system, right, goes down as well, because when you are stressed, do you care about, a bug, a bacterial infection that you have going on if we're, again, in the context of a tiger chasing you? No, you don't care about an infection that you have going on because you might be tiger food, which definitely worse. And then, you also, your body gets turned into essentially mobilizing your glucose stores so that your muscles can start running, making sure that you can run away. And so that's where then stress comes into play in terms of our actual weight, right? Because our metabolism gets altered where it's really trying to shift that focus into just making sure you are able to survive, which over a long period of time is actually detrimental to survival, right? And so our body is really incredibly smart. Back in the day, right, when we could turn off that stress response so much easier when, at some point that tiger would go away. Then we would go into our parasympathetic nervous system, which is our rest and digest state of being. And so at that point, you can digest your food, you'll actually be able to absorb your food, and you'll have better regulation of hormones, your sleep will be better. To be honest, everything will be better. And so this is why stress management is so incredibly important, especially for your gut health. And so what I tell people all the time is we need to make sure that when you're eating in a relaxed state. One of the easiest things you can do is right before your meal is take some nice deep belly breaths. And so, exactly. So what I love to do is just take that moment right before I'm about to eat some delicious food is to take some deep belly breaths, and it doesn't even have to be that many, like 3 to 5 is plenty, right? Just to shift your awareness And then on top of that, what I personally like to do and what I recommend so often to my patients is say something you're grateful for at the same time, because there's so much research and benefit to saying, to expressing gratitude. There's actually a bunch of studies, and what they show is that grateful people are happier. Happier people are not necessarily more grateful. And so, right, it's like if we express more gratitude, we'll have more joy and happiness in our lives in general as well, which then, right, is going to keep you in a more relaxed state. And so really making sure that the stress is managed, because I completely understand we can't eliminate stress. We always have some form, whether that's finances or like, oh, how's the dog doing, right? Whatever it is, there's always a little bit of stress. So there's some that we definitely can eliminate, but not all of it. And it's really just about a matter of making it so that you are managing your stress. What are you doing for your self-care? And again, it could be as simple as taking some nice deep belly breaths to just kind of settle in and physically shift your nervous system to the parasympathetic state, because so the science behind it is that our diaphragm right here is actually innervated by the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve, when that gets turned on, automatically shifts you to that rest and digest state. So hands down, anytime you're stressed, taking some nice deep breaths will help. It's just a matter of time.
I love that, and I noticed something in my family that has really been missing since all of COVID began, and we just kind of got off of our schedule where it used to be school schedules, and we'd get home from school and we'd eat dinner at a certain time. And I think just having that really routine dinners, and we would always sit at the table and hold hands and say something that we're grateful for just right before we eat the meal. And that does kind of set you into this relaxed state of like, oh, I'm so grateful for this food, and I'm so grateful that we're together and that we're here in love around the meal. And then COVID hit, and now we're doing online school, and the schedule's all out of, and I don't know what to make, and dinner comes at any time, and we're watching dinner in front of the TV, and all that beautiful routine. I'm really hoping that with school returning this fall, we can get back to that kind of routine, because I know my digestion was better, and sometimes we don't eat at the right times. We eat too late now without that routine, and when I eat too late, I really feel heavy before bed.
Yeah, I love that you guys do that. That's absolutely fantastic, because it's not just about, right, setting the intention and it's and actually setting it up so that you actually can digest and you absorb your food, which I think the most important part, right, about actually eating is making sure that you're still nourishing your body. And so that's exactly what you're ensuring that you're doing by taking those moments and having those rituals. And then on top of that, right, it also puts that importance and that emphasis on the fact that you are creating connection, right? There's a reason that so often in cultures it's around the dinner table, right? Because it does set it up so that you would digest your food so much better, right? You chew a lot slower, like more methodically. You take your time when you eat compared to when you're eating by yourself in front of the TV, right? Where then it's kind of like you're just shoveling food in rather than actually chewing, which is so incredibly important, by the way, because your stomach doesn't have teeth. Right? That's what your mouth is for, is to chew your food.
And you don't notice how much you're eating when you're watching TV. You're focused on the show. Maybe you're watching the news, which is just causing fear. And you're like, oh God, the news, the fear, and I'm eating and I'm not paying attention. And now I've ate more than I really wanted to as well.
Absolutely.
Whereas when you're just looking at each other and looking at your food, you're more focused on how much do you need.
Absolutely. And then, right, it's also when especially if you're watching the news, then you're in a more heightened state, which even if you try to take some deep breaths, I don't know that you'd actually be able to actually utilize all that food that you just put into your body, as well as if you weren't watching the news. And we're in a much relaxed state. Yeah.
So I know I need to get back to my routines with how we eat and just eating healthier foods. We've kind of slipped away from that with just a little more convenience, like I'm stressed, I'm lazy, and I just want to do convenience foods. But I feel that my gut has just gotten even beyond just getting back to the foods I know I need to be eating. And I turned 50 this year, and I just cannot lose this belly. And is there any other like tests, or like could you give me a pill or something to just make it all go away?
Oh, I wish. Everyone wishes, right? That there's one magic pill. Super side note, but I did a residency, a 1-year residency with Dr. Ilana Gurovich, and one of the things that she says that just really stuck with me is that if we could put everything that exercise does in a pill, everyone would be on it.
Oh yes, give me that one. Would be one. I'll take that one. Any price.
So, in regard to actually answer your question, though, when people come into me, when my patients come in and they have a lot of abdominal weight that they're having difficulties shedding, sometimes it's not actually like a metabolism issue, sometimes it is, but it could be that there's actually some sort of infection going on. That could be small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, or what we abbreviate as SIBO, S-I-B-O, which eventually becomes then leaky gut. And so leaky gut is essentially when our GI lining should have really good integrity like this. But what happens for, like, if you have an infection, right, that's not supposed to be there, they're off-gassing, they're creating their own toxins that is not supposed to be in your small intestine or your large intestine, which then means, right, they're inflaming and irritating that GI lining. So instead of it having that good integrity, it's now more porous, more leaky, which then means, right, you can have more symptoms, not necessarily just like the weight, but that could be one of them, but it could also be fatigue, it could be anxiety, it could be depression, it could be, skin issues. And that's what I really love about training the gut, is that it is, in naturopathic medicine, we learn that treating the gut is like the root cause of all illness, right? When you have dysfunction within your GI lining, that is essentially like the same thing or equivalent as if you had a cut on your skin, right? Your exterior surface. And so if you have a cut on you or an infection, right, we want to cover it. We want to keep it nice and clean to prevent infection, because we understand that we don't want it to get worse. And the same exact thing is true within your GI lining, right? Internally, when you have an infection or other imbalances, then you can have gas, you can have bloating, and the bloating sometimes does manifest as just this like belly that you can't really lose. And ultimately, it's not actually that it's weight, but more so trapped air. Right?
Wow.
And so there's testing that we can do specifically for that, both for SIBO, and then if there is, and of course that's if I suspect that is the case, but otherwise there's the GI map, which I really like, which is a more comprehensive test. It's literally 5 pages all about your one poop sample, which as a gut health doctor, I love it. People think it's weird to do it, but you do it at home and you send it out. No, it's easy peasy. No one really knows except me and you. But it gives
about the poop. It's all about the poop.
Ultimately, because we can learn so much from that. We see how your flora is. Like, do you actually have a good balance? And there are, as we learn more and more about the microbiome, there are specific strains that actually will cause more abdominal weight gain, or more likely to cause obesity. And so we can change that slowly with just adding in like probiotics and other supplements to really optimize that digestion, along with some of those everyday gut health tips that we were talking about earlier, where it's just a matter of making sure that you are operating in the physiological way that our body is designed to, and to really enhance your digestion, your absorption of your food, so that you do actually have that energy and nutrients to then turn that into energy and go out into your world and do whatever you love doing. And that's why I love treating gut health, and honestly why I love being a naturopathic doctor and acupuncturist, is because I get to help people through that journey of really uncovering whatever is going on within their gut or elsewhere in their body, and then put them into a healthier state, help guide them to a place where now they can have a higher quality of life. Because that is always the goal, right? Like, I created the planner specifically for helping people optimize their overall well-being. And so that is still my goal as a naturopathic doctor and acupuncturist, is always to increase the quality of life. If you are not living the way your life is not the way that you want to be living right now, or you would like it to be some other way, then look for other ways to change that. And we can do that with improving your health, and specifically with your gut health and other aspects as well.
Oh, I love that. Well, I'm going to schedule an appointment. And if you'd like to schedule an appointment with Kryzia Olsen, you can look for her website down below. It is
drkryzia.com, and Kryzia is Kryzia.
Well, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this.
Thank you. Me too.